Imagine expanding your team's abilities without adding headcount. With Element 451, AI assistants like admissions advisors and student success coaches work alongside your staff to deliver personalized experiences at scale, offer round the clock support, and uncover data driven insights. It's not just about doing more, it's about doing it smarter. Elevate your team with an AI workforce that delivers personalized, scalable, and impactful experiences across the student lifecycle. Learn more at element451.com. Welcome to the Hired Geek Podcast, where each week we explore the impact of EdTech on the student experience with engaging, fun, and relevant conversations that honor the wide range of work happening all across the higher ed ecosystem. I'm your host, Dustin Ramsell. I've been working in and around higher ed for the past decade, focused on student support and digital experiences. Join me every week for discussions with some of the best minds in education technology. The Hired Geek Podcast is a part of the Enrollify Podcast Network, a robust collection of shows designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. Welcome back, everyone, to another super special live episode of the Hired Geek Podcast here at Transact 360 in Las Vegas. If you're following along, this is the final in-person interview that I have. We've had some amazing conversations. If you've not listened to all of them, please do. This one is certainly building upon a lot of what we've talked about in some of those prior episodes, in the sense that folks have sort of alluded to and made mention of, like cloud migration and product development and things. So we'll dive a little bit deeper in those concepts for this interview. But as we usually do, if you want to briefly just introduce yourself, your role, and what has been your favorite part of T360 this year?
Awesome. First of all, we'll just thank you for being here, Dustin, and we appreciate you covering our annual client conference, T360. It's probably the best time of the year for us because so much happens in a short period of time. My name is Taran Lent. I'm the SVP of Product Development and Technology here at Transact. I oversee the teams that design our software, build the software, the teams that operate and support and keep the software available and running in the cloud, and then involved in strategy of some of our products, and work closely with the general managers on that. I've been with the company since 2014. I came by way of acquisition. I actually started two companies, so I have an entrepreneurial background, and I've sold both of them to Transact. And so if you kind of take that into account, I've been with the company in some form or another since 2003. So obviously love what I do, love serving this market in the products that we deliver here at Transact. But my favorite thing at T360, there's kind of the obvious answers of just, hey, it's fun to feed off the energy of other people and share ideas and collaborate. But tonight we have our Client Distinction Awards, and that is really fun just because we get to see how our clients actually put our products to work in the real world and how they solve problems that in really unique and innovative ways. I'm always amazed at the creativity and resourcefulness of our clients and how they might use our products in ways that we didn't ever imagine. And I think there's a nice competitive spirit. The schools help each other, and it's a really nice community, but they also care about kind of being innovators and leaders. And so it's nice to see the schools compete for these awards and to see the candidates and then, of course, the winners. So that's probably my favorite part of the show.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, like I said, like cloud migration has been just sort of had passing mentions in a lot of our interviews so far. So just to kind of go kind of high level, but really kind of zero in on that as like kind of the target, what's top of mind for you right now when it comes to supporting institutions with cloud migration? Like what trends are you seeing, what concerns or things that folks at institutions are grappling with?
Yeah. So look, I think there's a couple big trends happening right now. First of all, there's never been a better time in human history to create products and technology because so much is happening so quickly, and not just in our industry, but just in all these industries. And we see partners like Microsoft and Amazon creating more powerful capabilities and tools than ever before. And so that's available to all of us to try to move things forward. On the cloud front specifically, it's a pretty major transformation because many of these schools have used enterprise systems for 20, 25 years that have been on-premise historically. But they're absolutely woven into the operations of the campus. They're essential to how services are delivered, how people do their work, their ways of working. And so when you take enterprise systems like that and you move them to the cloud, there's a lot of opportunities. There's also a lot of challenges, and so ways of doing things can change. So one of the first big things that we see is a lot of institutions are used to building custom solutions by having direct database access, and when you move solutions to the cloud, whether it's Transact products or ERPs, that's not really a secure or compliant way to be doing things, and so that's being replaced by new integration technologies like APIs and eventing and SDKs. But even if that technology is powerful and can do what they need to do, it still is creating change. And so there's the technology part of that, but then there's the human side of it. And the human side is, hey, if you've been doing something a certain way for 15, 20 years, it may have been designed and implemented by people that came before you. Maybe people are no longer at the institution. It may or may not be documented. There may not be really great knowledge of how that workflow was created or why. And so the other thing that we see happening is there's the technology transformation, but there's the business process engineering transformation. If the clients are willing to kind of do that introspection and do some of that redesign.
That's something that I'm glad to kind of hear it sort of come up here, is that the sort of change management piece, how you sort of guide folks through this process, build consensus, or sort of get people's input and different things, that's half the battle kind of thing, and then just certainly other aspects of choosing what tool are we going with, and what's our timeline and different and that will influence how you sort of approach teams to sort of just navigate that process. But because obviously everybody's just different priorities, different things that are important to them, and but I think it's cloud migration is just a very major trend line, and just sort of a movement, but it's happening in fits and starts in different ways and shapes at different institutions and things. So and I think you were speaking to obviously just this moment in time for product development, these things that people are doing the change management around, implementing and utilizing and everything. So in ed tech in particular, what ways have you seen product development change over the years? What's the current state from your view?
There's a couple threads I'd like to pull on here. The first is, I think you have to start with the student perspective. And students are just so savvy, and they have an expectation about how great software should work and how applications should work. And I think students want to be proud of the applications and the experience they have on their campus. And it's actually quite difficult to design really great experiences on a small screen and a mobile device. And so you have to really be thoughtful about how you do user design. We actually spend a lot of time doing user validation, letting users play with our application, see if they can complete the workflows and tasks. But I would think the first thing is, I think there's more attention being given to design now than ever before. I think universities want to be proud of the mobile apps they put out. If you look at all these applications 10, 15 years ago, they weren't very aesthetically pleasing applications. They probably weren't designed to work well on a mobile device. One of the things that I talk about is people will say mobile first, and then you'll see somebody demonstrate software, on a laptop or on a PC. That's not mobile first. Mobile first means, hey, the first time we look at it and demonstrate it. I've been in meetings where we've been trying to demo our solutions on a mobile phone. We'll put it up on the screen, but in the mobile dimensions. And I'll have administrators, say, well, hey, can we see, it's too small to see, can we see it bigger? And of course we can do that, but it's intentional that we're doing on the screen. So I just think the attention to design, and design is not just the look and feel, it's how efficiently do we implement workflows for our users? How quickly can they complete their tasks? I think a huge trend in education is, education's always cared about accessibility, but I think the bar is being raised higher and higher and higher. And there's absolutely an expectation that solutions are usable for people with disabilities. And we do have a philosophy that if you can build software that works brilliantly for somebody that has disabilities, it's going to just work better for everybody. And so why not make that extra effort and do it that way? So that trend is big. I think kind of related to the cloud software conversation we had earlier, a lot of these legacy enterprise applications, the way we were developing them were more of a waterfall methodology. And so you would see, hey, there's one big release per year, maybe two big releases per year. And to implement that upgrade would be a big project on campus. And they would want to schedule it at a time where there could be no disruption to services. And some schools might take 2 or 3 years to take that upgrade for various reasons. And so just that affected the pace of the supply chain and of value delivery, to the ecosystem. One of the things that we love about being in the cloud, because not only can we make it more secure and do compliance, but we're able to release value much more quickly, and whether that's a bug fix or an enhancement or a new feature. And so we're delivering functionality in much smaller increments, but much more consistently and much more quickly, which I think is mostly great for the student experience, but it does change the ways of working, because updating your manuals or websites or FAQs has to be more iterative and continuous delivery to kind of match the software pace.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great stuff there, and I'm always appreciative to hear that sort of acknowledgement of, like, in years past, products in ed tech that, like, may have, like, worked great for the purposes of, like, faculty and staff, but just, like, had a lackluster user experience for students and things. And the idea of, like, we can do both. Like, if we should, like, shoot for the stars, let's try to, like, make it work well for everybody, versus just like, well, the back end's really good, it gives them who whatever they need. And I think just the that user validation being, like, a big piece to sort of guide that, and just to sort of, like, I always like just sort of the iterative approach, where it's kind of just like, just generally with things, whatever sort of efforts we're doing, starting somewhere. If it is sort of like, okay, we're going to start, using a tool, and seeing companies and organizations that, like, are, open to getting feedback and are doing sort of iterative development and always improving upon it. And, because I think that's, it would be sort of a tragedy if an institution is like, well, we need to update, this, that, or the other, like some sort of, part of our tech stack, but they don't find the thing that's, like, perfect 100% or whatever. It's like, you got to start somewhere. Like, you need to create, an ecosystem of tools that you have that are, again, like, serving your students, serving your faculty, serving your staff members, and, certainly getting to a place where it's just a more modern experience, a more engaging experience, and is something that the creators of it are committed to, just, like, making it better, keeping it less sort of responsive to, feedback and demands and the needs of each client.
A point to make there, though, is it goes back to our change conversation. So I had to kind of learn the tough way. As a software person and as a product person, I thought this was the greatest thing in the world and was obvious. But the first few times I stood in front of an audience of campus administrators, and I'd say, you guys are going to love this. We're going to release software and changes every 2 weeks. Half the room was kind of excited about it, but half the room was like, that sounds scary and disruptive. But if we look at the great software companies outside of our market that we admire, that is the model. But there are strategies and techniques for how you can do that so it doesn't create disruption. So we'll do a lot of things that we call feature flagging. So we'll release the value to the customers so it's there. And then you might turn the feature flags on and off when you're ready to expose that to your campus community. And so, but again, it just goes back. So like as you have these changes, there are ways to kind of make it digestible as you kind of ramp up to it. But yeah, it was funny. I stood up and was like, you guys are going to be so excited. We're going to change software all the time. And they said, well, that's going to really mess up our campus operations. And so I had to be more careful about how I delivered that message and some of the caveats that go around it.
Yeah. That's a very good acknowledgement. I appreciate that. And as we're wrapping up, this is the question I've kind of been asking everybody. What is on the horizon right now that you're watching that you feel like higher ed leaders need to be kind of anticipating and thinking about?
So look, I think in our business, one thing that we see developing pretty quickly that's exciting is just biometrics. I was telling somebody, I went on an international trip earlier this year and went to 2 or 3 different countries, but I wasn't showing my passport or my airline tickets to anybody. I was having my face scanned to verify who I am. That was looking at the passport I had uploaded in advance. It was verifying that I had a ticket on the correct flight. And it just going through border control in these countries is, I haven't seen a line in there for a long time. You just walk right through, and it's now look. I know there's kind of 2 sides to that coin. There's the efficiency and convenience of it, but I know people are worried about the doing it ethically and responsibly. But I've seen a lot of use cases there, and I think we're going to see people biometrics, especially in payments, and look, and we're using it now, whether you realize it or not, with our Face ID and Touch ID and so forth. Amazon is coming out with their Amazon One technology that they use at Whole Foods, which I think is a really cool technology where you wave your hand, it knows you're a Prime member, you check out, and it can bill it to your account on file. So I think biometrics are important for us just because I think I don't know what time frame it will happen on, but there's no way it's not going to progress in the next 3 to 5 years. And we already see it kind of in the public domain. Yeah, I'm sure everybody talks about AI, and I do think AI can be used to create all sorts of force multipliers with productivity. I think it can create a lot of cool solutions with helping with staff knowledge management and staff training, which turnover is a big topic in our industry. My advice to people that are thinking about AI is, a good place to start is, what do you want to stop doing? Like, what are you doing that's not fun or that's tedious or that you just know is not efficient? That's an area that AI is probably going to be, helpful. So that I think the way people need to think about it is, how can you use AI to become more strategic in what you do and less tactical? But AI will be a big part of it. And then I think we already talked about the other one. I think the movement to the cloud, that's going to be something that kind of drives the industry for quite some time. And but I think those are three big trends to keep an eye on in the future.
And I'll just sort of like endorse the biometrics. Somebody else that we interviewed also mentioned that as like the thing on the horizon that they're sort of, keeping an eye on and also just like excited about, because I think that's sort of just like a whole new frontier. So another vote of confidence on that one. But appreciate you just jumping in quickly and having a great conversation here, giving some time for this, and just really appreciate your perspective. So thanks for coming out.
No, happy to do it. It's a great opportunity. Appreciate you guys covering our show, and hope to see you at the party tonight, and you can get excited about the Distinction Awards. We'll see who.
Very excited, yes.
Takes the prize tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much.
The Hired Geek Podcast is a part of the Enrollify Podcast Network. If you like this podcast, chances you like all the other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing constantly, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better hired professional. Our shows help you find your next big idea and feature a selection of the industry's best as your host. Learn from people like Jamie Hunt, Seth Odell, Dave Kibbolds, and Eddie Francis, as well as so many other of your favorite leaders in higher education. Enrollify is made possible by the support of Element 451, a leading AI-powered, all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.